Hello, Tom Peterson here. Going to show you some instructions on how to operate your piece pipe and then also how to charge your piece heater pen. So we're going to start with the kit that you get or will receive. We'll obviously have the piece pipe and the heating pen in the top, what we call the dashboard here, along with your concentrate jar. Then of course the accessories will be underneath down below. To first take your piece pipe out of the case. Don't pull it up by the mouthpiece, pull it up by the body of the piece pipe. And you can hold the dashboard down as you do that, and then it will just release. Okay, so that's how you get the piece pipe out. Same applies with your pen here. You want to go ahead and pull up on the body of the pen. I already snapped it out. It will snap out of the retainer that it's in. Okay, and you have your two devices here. Good to go. Only other thing you're going to need obviously is your concentrate. So let's talk about how to load the piece pipe with your concentrate or extract. It comes in the stowed position. So the stowed position is going to be somewhere in between your loading position and your heating position. There are marks on the inner tube that designate first your loading position. There's a mark here closest to the mouthpiece. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and push the mouthpiece up towards the body of the piece pipe until your mark is lined up with the primary bushing. It's right up next to the primary bushing here. You are now ready to load this. So you've exposed the bowl and the spring perch that the bowl sits on. This gives you enough room to dip this into your concentrate jar and go ahead and fill it. Now, we're going to also do something else for you, and that is provide you with recommended concentrates and extracts. We'd also like to get some feedback on this, so there is a forum where we can get some feedback on this from you as well. So you can go ahead and educate us on great concentrates or extracts you like, that you enjoy, that work well with the piece pipe. Keep in mind, as I've said before, a softer, more pliable concentrate is going to work best. If you're trying to use something like a shatter that's as hard as a rock or looks like a piece of juicy fruit in terms of its shape, it's not going to fit into the bowl very well. It needs to be pliable. You've got to be able to break it down and pack it into the bowl. This was actually, or is, a CBD crystal. These were actually crystals, but they were soft enough to where I could break it up. So now I can just press the bowl right in here and load this, and I'll show you how to do that. This happens to be a, what we'd call a butter. This was more of a bouillon type of shape to it. I broke it up a little bit here. Again, very soft, very pliable, packs really nicely. I didn't bring it with me today, but I have a live resin. I think they call that a crystal as well. It's on the list. Works really well. So just stay away from the stuff that's either really hard or really wet, because if it's really wet, chances are it's going to run out of the bowl. This bowl sits horizontally or on its side. It doesn't sit up and down. And again, packing the bowl with something that's very hard, that doesn't allow you to pack it in there and doesn't shape or create a shape, going to be very difficult to utilize. So just want to give you a heads up on that. All right, so we have this in loading position. I'm going to go straight into the container here with it, and I'm just going to press it down. You can twist it a little bit, just kind of pack it in there and twist it around. Now, once it's packed, there will be a little bit that's going to stick to the edges here, especially if you have not cleaned the bowl. So it's one thing I did not do before this video, is clean the outside of the bowl. Problem with having the outside of the bowl sticky with resin is the material will stick to the outside of the bowl. So let's try this again here. But next, for future reference, make sure you keep your bowl clean. I'll try and do the same. Forgot to do that. All right, so we're good. Now what you can do is you can just kind of pack it in with your finger, and then you can just kind of rub the excess off of the edges. But you can see here, this is a finely packed bowl. And so we're good. All right, so that helps to keep the mess away. And again, this is designed to be a very, very efficient means of sublimating or vaporizing your concentrates and extracts. Concentrates and extracts are very expensive. They're running upwards of $100 now per gram for the really good stuff. So if you want to make it go a long ways, this is a great, great device because it burns, I shouldn't say burn, it's terrible to say. It vaporizes, sublimates very efficiently. You don't have waste material left behind that just goes to waste that's not really usable again because it's going to be overcooked, what have you, by then. This is designed to be a single serving dose, very clean, very efficient, and this is a big money saver in terms of your extracts and concentrates. All right. And again, I was going to just note on something like this, break it up. There is a tool, dabbing tool in here. Just break up your stuff that's like this. Don't try to break it up with the tip of this. You can, but I'd just recommend you use your tool for that. All right, so now we're loaded. We're going to get this into heating position. We're going to pull this back. You can twist it a little bit as you pull. And then we're going to go to our next marker or line on the inner tube, which is our heating marker. Now, very, very important that this be positioned properly. If it's not positioned properly, you will not get best results. Reason being, a couple things. If this is too far back, the heating tip will not fully penetrate the bowl and will not fully sublimate or vaporize the material that's in the bowl. If it happens to be too far forward, the safety cap cage or front end of it will actually run into the bowl. And again, that's just not ideal. Better to have the spacing as we've designed it so that you get best results. Also, if it's not set properly, your carb holes will not function as well as designed. You have a primary carb hole here, which sits literally right above the bowl. You then have your secondary carb holes here that sit below the bowl where the bowl spring perch is. Those are your fresh air intake carb holes. So there's a lot going on here. In order for all of this stuff to work properly, make sure you've got this lined up correctly. All right, so now what we're going to do, set this aside. We're going to work on getting the heating pen heated up. Now, this is something you're going to receive. You should receive this in its fully, let's just say, geared up position. And what I mean by that is there's a dial on here on the end that you turn up to 4.8 volts, which is the high setting. These in the factory in our facility should already have been dialed up for you to 4.8, but just always check to make sure that your little red indicator on here is lined up with the 4.8 volts on there. So just make sure you've got that turned all the way up. Secondarily, it may or may not be on when you receive it. If it's not on, you will know because when you press the button, nothing will happen. Okay, so if I press the button here, nothing happens, I know it's not turned on. To turn it on, press it quickly 5 times. It will then flash blue, letting you know that it's turned on, ready to go. You can test by just pressing. The light comes on when you press it, so you know that it's on. Okay, so what we're going to do now is get into the process of heating up your heating pen. Press and hold the button. It'll be solid blue. This pen is designed so you don't overheat your product. So you have to build up heat and you have to retain heat. But again, it's designed so it doesn't get too hot. As soon as it starts to flash, you want to release and then press again. The quicker you do that, the quicker it's going to heat up. So just make sure that you're paying attention. As soon as it starts to flash, release, press again. I'm now already into cycle 3. So I'm going to get into now my heating cycles now that I've gotten through my 3 preheat cycles. It takes 3 cycles to preheat. Okay, and I'm now into my 5th cycle in total. So that's a mid-range temperature setting. So we're going to go ahead and insert straight. Okay, so that was awesome, by the way. All right, so as far as inspecting and checking to make sure that you've emptied the bowl, you can always just raise this up to loading position, not quite to loading position, check the bowl. So this is clean, okay, pretty good. Now there might be instances where you can go back and finish it off. If you've got a little bit left behind, you don't feel that you maybe inhaled long enough, whatever the case might be, you can always heat this back up. You don't have to go through the preheat settings or the preheat phase or process. You can just go into your heating process, which then we just go 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to go back into my 6th heating cycle, okay, which is my mid-high temperature. You'll see that on the instructions. And what I can do is I can just try it one more time and just make sure that I got everything out of there. You'll be surprised. Sometimes there's more left. Sometimes there isn't. You don't know till you try. Okay, so there was a little bit left in there. So now I know that I've emptied the bowl. I've utilized everything there is. And so just keep that in mind, because again, this is where practice comes into play. You'll get a good feel for it. You'll get a better understanding, and you'll be an ace at this. But again, this is just to help you kind of get familiar with the different options that you may have and what you can and cannot do. Okay, you may have noticed what I was doing during the time in which I was inhaling is I was pressing and releasing, pressing and releasing, pressing and releasing. The reason why I was doing that, and it's very important that you do that, is I'm creating vapor when I'm pressing, and when I'm releasing vapor. In the process of doing this, you want to make sure that you keep your heat going. So as far as this button is concerned, what's going to happen is while you're inhaling, okay, this is going to, let's just say you started with cycle 6, heat cycle 6, that's going to phase out at some point, so you want to make sure that you get back into the next heat cycle to maintain that heat, because what happens is the heat from the tip, when it penetrates the bowl, the thermal dynamics of that is it now has to heat the bowl also. Anything that's cooler is going to, like a sponge, take that heat from the hotter mechanism, right, or the mechanisms that is hotter. So you want to make sure you maintain that temperature by continuing on with your heating cycles or phases with the button here. Don't stop using the button once you start inhaling. Keep that heat going. All right? So what you want to do in that exercise is not fully penetrate the bowl the first time. You want to come into the bowl a little bit, go back out. Come in a little bit deeper, come back out, go deeper, and then you can then finally fully penetrate the bowl. That's going to give you the maximum benefit and efficiency, because what you're allowing it to do is heat a little bit of material, then heat some more material, then heat some more material, and then heat all of the material. You're kind of breaking it down in that sense. The other great thing about it is it does make your material go much further, because if you go all the way in and you penetrate fully, some material may come out of the bowl because it kind of gets squished out of the bowl before it really has had a chance to vaporize, sublimate and vaporize, and obviously do that. So just some good things to pay attention to. We have another video on best practices. Want to show that to you so you can see the inner workings of all of this. You really can't see what's going on in here with this outer tube here concealing all of that. So we have a rig set up so you can see exactly what's happening. And it's pretty cool to watch. And we'll show you some different techniques, okay, to master this, because this is really, really cool once you've got it down, once you've got it mastered. Does take a few tries, so don't be disappointed if you don't get it the first time. But that's something that's going to be a very, very helpful tool in doing that. Now, also make sure that you have full penetration of the bowl, and you can always inspect the bowl to just make sure it's empty. And you can just check to verify that you did get everything out of there that was in there. But that's pretty much how that technique works and how important that technique is to know and learn. So do make sure that you watch our other videos on that as well. All right, so we're going to show you how to charge the heating pen. We'll be right back for that. See you in just a bit.